So why don't we start with you just introducing yourselves, just one by one, a little short introduction to yourself, your role, and then also kind of what you do with it within Particle.
Sounds great. I can go ahead and introduce myself. Like Lizzy mentioned, I work on the biz dev team here at Particle. I joined on July 2018, so it's been some time now, almost crossing my 2-year timeline here. And along the way, I have kind of done different things. And along my business development responsibilities, I also do some product marketing work as well, and kind of making sure I'm helping with the messaging and positioning from a high level point of view and helping with the go to market for different markets. And along the way, we have kind of discovered some new things. And I've also put in some work on our build versus buy side of things, which we have identified to be one of our biggest challenge areas here in the IoT space. And then I'm kind of also working alongside with our account executives and handling some of those enterprise deals as well in the early stages.
Great, thank you. Lizzy, you want to go next?
Yeah, I'm Lizzy Wilmarth. I work at Particle as an enterprise account executive, which means that I am responsible for all of our customers doing large-scale implementations in a certain territory. I actually cover the Rockies area of Colorado, Arizona, and all the surrounding states. And I've been at Particle for almost a year.
Okay, and Nicholas, and maybe you also, Nicholas, can expand beyond yourself and also talk a little bit about Particle as a company.
Sure. So Particle is the edge to cloud IoT platform. I think that that's one of our honestly like unique value propositions is that a lot of companies do hardware, a lot of companies do the software side, and some companies do a mix of that with connectivity, but we do all of it, right? And I think Raniz alluded to it a little bit before, but I think it's a really important point that a lot of companies start by evaluating hardware. And so they miss out on a lot of the roadblocks and kind of the places they're going to get tripped up later on in the cycle of developing an IoT solution. And so as part of the work that, Raniz has done and Lizzy's done on the AE side, we've really found that the compelling part of our solution is when you actually start to get further down the development cycle in-house, right? And then you start to realize how many different roles you're going to need to stand up an IoT solution, whether that's, SREs, site reliability engineers, whether that's, embedded engineers, and then you're going to need traditional, front-end engineers, right, to build a lot of the customer-facing pieces of it. So that's I think where our special sauce is, and what we do really well is we do all of that for you. And in terms of myself, my name is Nicholas Gage. I'm the director of demand generation at Particle. I actually had a pretty interesting start here. So I started managing BDR functions. So a team of young, hungry sellers that were tasked with going out and sourcing demand for a product that I think is in a very immature market. So it's a pretty challenging role. And then I moved into also overseeing the demand generation side of the house as well. So spinning up campaigns to drive interest, educate the market, doing a lot of work with Raniz, Lizzy, others.
Great, thank you. And why don't we all, because just give me a short answer each and let's go in the same order. Just what does IoT mean to you? And why I ask this particularly, a lot of the people in my personal experience with IoT is a lot of LoRa, but most of your business is actually more NBIoT is my understanding. So what does IoT mean to you in your own words?
I can start.
Yeah, please.
I mean, like Nick kind of attributed to in the beginning, IoT is a very mature market, and we have seen a lot of kind of companies pop up in different spaces. I think when it comes to Particle, it's very clear that, like Nick mentioned, we have kind of done a lot of the hard work and kind of extract a lot of the hardest aspects of building an IoT platform. And for us, our mission proposition has always been the same, that is to connect physical assets and bring them online and help companies extract value from the data that we are enabling them to collect.
Lizzy?
Yeah, IoT is the future. So it's really exciting to be a part of it and to get to be part of an emerging industry, which is why I wanted to come work here at Particle. And when I talk, I love our role at Particle because we aren't even selling our own IoT product, we're selling an IoT platform. So that means that all the customers that I talk to, they're the ones building an IoT product, and we get to talk to people in industries, just such vast spans of industries that are building for agriculture tech or media tech or environmental engineering is a really big space where I cover in Colorado, and getting to be able to talk to all these companies that are building really revolutionary technologies that are going to improve our environment and improve the world we live in really is why I think this job is so much fun.
Yeah, so I'll echo a lot of what Lizzy and Raniz said, and I think one of the interesting points is around data extraction, right? So IoT to me, and this is probably not the term you'd see on Wikipedia, but it's how do you extract data from a physical device to make business decisions? Like that to me is ultimately what we do, right? We sell to businesses. And I think when you look at where many companies are focusing now is things, you hear buzzwords like machine learning and AI, and none of that is possible without vast amounts of like rich data, right? And the only way that you're going to get that from a product is with IoT. So if we're all in agreement that the way businesses are going to move forward is through, you know, augmenting their chops, I should say, in things like machine learning and AI, then you have to say that they're going to need
Okay, great. And then kind of let's take a bigger step back and look at that ecosystem. So you all touched on the point that this is quite an immature space, or that we've come a long way, but there's still a long way to go. Let's just talk about then kind of what the ecosystem is and what you think the kind of key skills that you need to succeed are at the moment.
Yeah, I can kind of touch some light on that. Yeah, when we look at the ecosystem overall, I think there are 4 areas of the IoT stack, and that's the way that we look at things. A is on the left-hand side, you'll find IoT hardware platform providers that just make the IoT module or maybe the gateways that you can kind of put in whatever you want to connect. But we go beyond that, and we also kind of touch upon the connectivity side. So when we talk about connectivity, you have different connectivity modules, and I think you mentioned early in the beginning, you have LoRa, you have NBIoT, you have cellular, obviously that falls in NBIoT. Then you have Wi-Fi, you have Zigbee, and some of the other connectivity modules as well. And then obviously you have device management platforms that kind of allow you to manage a fleet of devices at scale. So we do all 3 of them. As Nick mentioned, we are an edge to cloud platform. So from the device side to the device management and fleet management side of things. And in the last end, I think where you do machine learning and analytics on the side. And we don't touch upon any of that, but we allow you to kind of take the data outside a Particle ecosystem and put it to any external database or server. And I think that's really helpful for us to look at it at that perspective, because like Lizzy mentioned and Nick mentioned, we work with a lot of different industries. A lot of them are trying to do very different things with the data. And when we do work with such a wide variety of clients, it is important for us to be compatible with a lot of these external providers, and we allow them to do so. And when it comes to skill set, I think Nick also mentioned that there are a lot of different skill sets you require when you need to build an IoT product. And we have seen this from a very early stage, in the sense that organizations do build on Particle, and they kind of embark on IoT journey because they realize that there's a lot of value to be gained. And I think everyone sees that value. But what they kind of underestimate is how hard it is to build an IoT product, and that's something that we have seen again and again. And a lot of IoT projects actually fail in the POC stage and even beyond, because organizations don't even realize a lot of the skill sets that they require. You need people with security backgrounds. You need people with RF backgrounds. You need people with database backgrounds. You need people to handle not only the hardware side of things, but also firmware and cloud management side of things as well. You need folks also on the connectivity side of things, cellular engineers, so on and so forth. And I think the plus side that really comes into the picture because we build on Particle is because we take care of all of these hard things. And then we do have around 40 to 50 engineers who are currently with us who are working on a lot of these hard issues, which a lot of organizations don't factor in when they start building on an IoT platform. And a lot of these hidden costs that we like to kind of mention are like security, there's scalability, because if you kind of building and POC is easy, but how do you do it for tens and thousands of devices and also kind of ensure a lot of the software side of things or the firmware side of things for that many devices. We also kind of take care of certifications, right? A lot of our modules are immediately deployable. They're pre-certified, and that costs a lot when you kind of don't do that beforehand. And then we also obviously take care of the maintenance and the ownership of things. And what eventually ends up happening is organizations don't take these factors into account. And later when they start building without Particle or they start building on their own, the total cost of ownership just kind of jumps sky high. And what they realize is, even though there's not an upfront cost when they build an IoT platform, one has to amount for a lot of the continued development, management, and maintenance costs. And what ends up happening is that the total cost of ownership just goes way above and beyond when you kind of buy an IoT platform, if that makes sense.
What a great answer. Thank you so much. I think because that was so thorough, I'd like to then just ask the next question, which is really about then the kind of key advice that you have. So you've touched there on so many pain points, and also the fact that you need excellence in every single one of these areas, otherwise the projects fall down. There's no point of being brilliant over here if this part of your product, or making it work in low numbers, but managing 5,000 plus data points and sensors and provisioning is difficult. So that was great. But so maybe Lizzy, Nicholas, you could talk now then about the advice that you would have. You might be a company that knows that they want to digitize. You might be somebody wanting to come into this space for the first time. What words of advice do you have for those people thinking about getting started with IoT?
Yeah, I'll take it, and I'll be this shameless sales rep who says you should use Particle, is my advice. Raniz did a wonderful job outlining exactly the pain points that people feel when they try to build an IoT solution. But the analysis we've done has shown us that on average, if people are going to try to build without our system, they will need to talk to 22 other vendors. They will need 22 outside vendors to cobble together the solution that Particle has put together. And then in-house, if you wanted to try to do it yourself, you're going to be hiring 70 plus people. So we often have large clients like Jacuzzi who try to build their own IoT solution for about 2 years and waste a lot of, not waste, but spend a lot of time and resources trying to do it on their own and then come back to us anyways. And that's why we were able to, when Jacuzzi came back to us and got serious, it was 6 months from our first conversation to the day that they could sell their smart hot tub built by Particle.
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking about it from the sense of if someone's thinking about building an IoT product, whether it's a existing company or an entrepreneur that's building something in their garage, right? And what I would ask them to think of is not just think past the hardware, right? I made a comment earlier about typically people start evaluation at the hardware side, right? Which in my opinion is a little bit backwards, because hardware is going to be the least of your concerns when you actually launch this. I think Raniz did a great job explaining, why that is. And Lizzy, the 22 vendors is a great example of why hardware is not where the IoT problem starts and ends. It's everything else. And when you take it a layer deeper, even things like cellular coverage, right? If your product is going to live in multiple countries, or you want the ability to move into multiple countries, you're going to need to go into each one of those countries and negotiate with separate cell carriers if that is like a connectivity type you're going to use. So it's things like that Particle just handles. And I think that's the biggest advantage of what we do, is that it's those things that you're not going to realize are problems until you get pretty far, almost too far down the build it yourself path. And then you're going to realize all these issues that are going to pop up, and they're costly, right? Like Raniz mentioned about things like certification costs. You know, those are tens of thousands of dollars, and you don't always pass, right? Like it's not as if it's you write a check and then you get it. So things like that, I think just think beyond the initial hardware and think through the entire solution is kind of the advice I'd give.
Great, thank you. Okay, and then I'd like to ask you all just for a brief kind of answer then about what success means in an IoT project. Maybe again in the same order.
Yeah, I can start. I think when I think about a successful IoT project, I think about the fact that there's a clear ROI to it, and there's a clear business case to it. And a lot of the times when we kind of work with companies that bring connected products to market, a lot of them have very solid use cases, but not all the times we see companies with very strong business case. And for us, I think we are successful as our clients are successful. When our clients deploy many more devices, we are more successful because of that. So if a company has a strong ROI and a business case, and they're trusting us to bring a connected product to market, a successful IoT project will be for us when we kind of scale with them. So what does the next stage look like? And then we kind of help them with the next stage as well.
Great. Lizzy?
Yeah, I think that a successful IoT product or project comes down to two things: reliability and security. And your product has to be able to be online and stay online and gather the data you need. And you also need to protect yourself from any security breaches that could happen, of which the entire nascent industry is rife of people hacking systems based upon non-secure projects. So that is another place where with Particle, because we cover your edge to cloud, if anything goes wrong in that entire stream, we are the ones that have a holistic view. If you call us, we can see, did the breakdown happen at the hardware, at the cellular connectivity, at the firmware level, where if you're working with, imagine, 22 other vendors, there's a lot of finger pointing. And nobody else can see the holistic view of your entire system except us. And that's why, especially with security concerns, we make sure that we take our responsibility super seriously, that our customers are putting their customers into our system, and that we can help you address any problems or concerns in any part of the IoT journey.
Great. And Nicholas?
Yeah, I think both those answers are great. And I think I'll just elaborate a little bit on both those, because that's what makes the most sense for this. It's think about the business case and think about it in the sense of how are you actually going to improve your business using IoT and data from IoT, right? Because that's really what you're doing. So in my opinion, it's thinking to the point of, if something breaks, when that data is sent to the cloud, what systems does it go to, and what workflows does it trigger, right? So like in the example of an HVAC unit that all of a sudden goes down, like a fan stops spinning. When that data hits your cloud, does it then send information to Salesforce to trigger a customer's support rep to reach out to that customer? Then does it go to your ERP system to trigger a replacement part order because you know exactly which part has now gone offline, right? And then does it trigger a text message alert to some kind of service tech to let them know in the area, hey, you have to go check out this? All of that combined makes for a powerful business model, because then you're getting ahead of multiple problems, right? Like you're getting ahead of the customer experience. You can instantly go and resolve a problem before, in some cases, before a customer knows it's existed. And then secondly, you can also streamline like your internal workflows. So you're not going to spend days figuring out how to coordinate all those things. They're all done automatically. And I think that's where the power of, IoT and these solutions comes into play, and like what people's focus should be.
Wonderful. Okay, well, we'll leave it there. So thank you